Going back to first principles, so questioning what do we need to have in an actual user interface? Like, do we need to have all these many actions, or can we kind of make it simpler? What I've seen is sometimes people from a design perspective specifically, they tend to like follow trends a little bit too much, and you get these UIs that are kind of evolving really quickly, and they can be disruptive for the user experience.
So, welcome to Founder Fridays, where we sit down with builders who've been in the trenches to talk shop, product, design, and the real lessons no one puts on a slide deck. I'm Ghalia Alami, and I lead our startup program in Europe. Today, I'm sitting down with Giovanni Luperti, CEO and founder of Humaans, an intuitive HR platform that lets companies integrate best-in-class local tools for different teams and different markets. Humaans is really disrupting HR in ways that are making huge waves for the industry. You have also raised VC funding from high-profile investors such as Shopify founder or LinkedIn's ex-CEO Jeff Weiner, to just name a few. So I'm very excited for this conversation, Giovanni. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very much, Rai, for having me.
Let's start with the spark, Giovanni. Why did you choose to reinvent this particular space?
I'm a product guy by background, so I've been in tech for pretty much the majority of my working life. And as many product people out there, I guess you get spoiled with incredible tools. And as I work across different companies, well, I noticed that the HR tools that we're using were not necessarily like in line with the level of expectations that you typically have with a number of other tools into the business. But at the same time, HR tools are incredibly visible to everybody in the organization. Everybody needs to, book time off, check some bits of their data, reporting, the pay slips. And every single company out there is using one of these products. So it's a massive, massive market. So that was kind of, the moment where we say, why there are actually no incredible, beautifully designed product within a space that is so big.
As you were realizing there might be a gap in the market, what happened there?
The observation, we're starting to have conversation with incredible companies that were scaling. We thought, okay, maybe we have an idea of what we want to build. And there was like, let's tap into the HRS side of things, which is the backbone of your people, data, and infrastructure. A product that can help you with process like employee onboarding, offboarding, compensation management, and so on. What happened was the COVID effectively landed, right? So as we were thinking about these ideas, the world effectively shifted. And we were running another company before, my co-founder, Carlis, and I. And there was the haha moment where we say, okay, we are envisioning something. The world is going to change in ways that we've never seen before. Remote work was just about to kind of, shape up. So we thought, what about we build an HRS product that is designed for companies that are actually setting up to work in a remote way, globally distributed and scaling. And that's how we actually kind of, started.
How does Humaans work, or what are the pain points it solves as you were discovering them during COVID? You're really seeing it as a end-to-end journey for an HR to manage its people from onboarding to analysis later on in the journey of the employee, right? And so what's quite amazing is that you're sitting at the intersection of people, data, and potentially AI. So how are you seeing, how's AI interacting with humans, and how are you seeing in general AI shape the HR stack?
I would say AI is actually a massive component of what we do. There are different dimensions in the way we actually apply AI. Like specifically, we've been building around three pillars of the AI stack, let's say. The first one was around what we called AI Companion, which is effectively a tool within our core platform designed to help people with repetitive questions. And as you scale your organization, this can become literally a blocker for the team and kind of, impact efficiency. So employees can just go and get access to anything they need from, like, if what specific clause in my contract, when is my probation end date, or anything like that. So they don't have to kind of, rely on HR on a day to day. Then we tap into some aspects of performance management. This is a very interesting one because performance management is obviously an incredibly important process for any organization. And the last one is more on the agentic side. These are our capabilities designed for large organizations that want to drive, again, a massive level of efficiency and really scale the impact of the people team.
So let's talk a bit now more about your design philosophy.
Design is an extremely important component on how do we build product. I'm coming from a product design background myself, and my co-founder as well has a kind of, an incredible deep and care for design. So we've been always thinking about how to make sure that interaction model that we create is simple. Like, the challenge that we have with this type of product or platform play is they can be overwhelming. There is so much surface area. They can be very easy to create a bit of a monster product, a Frankenstein product where you add and add and add, but then it's extremely hard for you to kind of, interact and approach the technology. So something that we try and always understand here, who's going to use the product, from, let's say, the non-admin user that probably don't need lots of kind of, sophistication. They just need to get some stuff done really quickly. And probably also these people want to do the majority of these things, maybe even in Slack or in other places. So we want to make sure that we're not forcing them to be in a platform that they don't necessarily need on a day-to-day basis. On the other end of the spectrum, we look at the more, admin power users. Can be a finance role, can be an HR admin, can be a talent person they supporting and on some onboarding process as well. That's where we want to make sure that the context is always accessible for them. It is designed with the specific workflows and user personas in mind. So again, design extremely important, but it's more contextualizing the design to the specific journey, the persona, and what people are trying to accomplish within a platform.
Yeah, that's great. And do you have an example, or could you show us how? Because you mentioned in your answer that uh, one pillar of your philosophy is simplifying. You don't want to build a Frankenstein tool. I think that's an amazing best practice that we hear a lot of successful founders share. Do you have an approach to simplify? How does it work?
Let's say is going back to first principles, so like questioning what do we need to have in an actual user interface? Like, do we need to have all these many actions? So can we kind of, make it simpler? Or do we hide certain things because they're not needed as you approach the specific action today in the moment, but as you go through again the next step and journey, you go there. And there is also an important component, like what I've seen is sometimes people from a design perspective specifically, they tend to like follow trends a little bit too much. And you get these UIs, they're kind of, evolving really quickly and they can be disruptive for the user experience. Like, I have incredible appreciation for Notion because your design, it always felt like, timeless from day one. It was like, how do we make sure that the UI and the way in which you approach the UI is going to stay there for a good chunk of time so the experience is not disrupted and you don't need to relearn the technology multiple times.
So we were saying in the beginning that it is a tool that lets companies integrate
Mhm.
with other tools. How does that work?
What we observe is that as you scale your organizations, of course, your needs are going to change. Like, there is a number of products that might be relevant in tools when you have 50 people, 100 people, maybe 200. But when you have a company with 500,000 or a few thousand employees, your stack is likely going to look very different. So you have people across multiple regions. Maybe you're processing, again, payroll across multiple regions. So what we think it should not change is the backbone that is powering all these other tools, which effectively is how we design humans. So the way we envision is having humans as this core layer that sits kind of, in the middle of your stack, and then is powering other processes, is powering workflows, leveraging the data that you have across multiple systems. So we want to make sure that as you evolve as a company, you can replace the different bits that needs to be replaced. If you are, running a payroll process, and you might need to do payroll for people in the US, people in the UK, people in France, like you might need to use multiple systems, and you want them all to be plugged on top of the same level of infrastructure. So that's kind of, the ability that we want to make sure that people to have no stress around how to design their stack, but have this comfort that they can evolve the stack together with the company needs.
How do you hire for a company whose mission is to rethink um, or improve how people are hired and onboarded?
I'd say in general, hiring is one of the hardest things that you need to deal with as part of the company building journey. What is important is going back to a set of values that you have. Like, in this specific moment in time, what are we trying to accomplish as a company, and what type of people do we need to help us as part of this journey? So for us, it's extremely important to bring people that are entrepreneurial, people that care, people that have incredible level of ambition. You want to make sure that these characteristics are still there, because you need people that, as you go through, the ups and downs of the company building, they're going to be there, they're going to be resilient, they're going to be caring, and they understand kind of, what is the bigger picture, what is the mission, what we're trying to accomplish, and also what can we do for them, how do we enable them to be successful.
You guys are Notion power users. So, is there any workflow that you'd like to share with us that other founders could steal tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I started using Notion when, even before we started Humans. As I said, probably Notion was a 10 people company when we started using it, which was fun. And going back to the fact that we love to experiment with tools very earlier on. And for me, the key motivation was around the beautiful design, and again, this timeless design. And from there, obviously, again, you start to tap into a little bit more and say, okay, what else can you do for me? And then you see, okay, we can actually not only document, again, stories, idea, and thoughts, but you also can organize knowledge. You can make this knowledge accessible. You can collaborate with people. You can bring more people into your thoughts, into this, again, large database of knowledge that you're building. Different teams within the company are using, different products to do more, like we're implementing more on the customer support side to get a little more velocity as well. So that's an area which I think you can get a lot of benefit and velocity as well, aside from our own internal products that we're using for employee day to day, again with our Tina for the onboarding of new employees on the ramping hiring side, and data hygiene in general.
So, we're almost at the end. So, we'll wrap up with our advice block to other founders. I have a few questions there. The first one is, if you had to start Humans all over again today, what's one thing you would do differently?
It's a good one. Like there is definitely this element of like having the courage to take some actions. Like as a founder, you get presented with a number of things every day. Like, would I do this, do that? Like, is a market that we want to expand in? Is a product decision that we want to invest, like, in this area or not? So sometimes can be a little bit overwhelming. So I wouldn't say necessarily I would do differently, but sometimes it's having more the courage to take some actions faster, and maybe worrying a little bit less about the consequences, the implications, like, because you always have time to kind of, adjust, as long as you have, the courage to take an action and see how it develops, how it plays out. That's extremely important. Should be extremely action orientated, and just make progress. That's extremely important. So that's something that maybe, in particular in the early days where things are happening, moving fast, you're facing with you face with incredible level of risk. It's just not stress out too much, but just think long term, make the decision, make progress, and move on. I think that's something that I would say is extremely important.
Are you saying progress over perfection?
Oh, 100%. And it's difficult for me personally because I care about quality, I care about craft. We are definitely kind of bit on the perfectionist end at Humans, but you need to make sure that your perfection is not basically blocking you and preventing from making progress.
Yeah, and one thing that helped me as a perfectionist too when it comes to progress over perfection is thinking that perfection is not a static, like I try to think of it this way, it's not a static state, it's something you get to by working, like by making progress, because you need to communicate with life, with your tools, with your product for it to improve to that state. We think it's something that should exist on the first version of everything we do, but that's not how it works. Perfection is actually a craft.
Talking about design earlier, and design is probably the perfect example. Like, you can have this beautiful piece of UI design in Figma, and you say, okay, this is perfect, great. As soon as you build it, probably the next day something is going to change. Maybe there is an extra new button that you need to have, or an extra piece of context that needs implemented. So your design is going to be relevant pretty fast. So you're always iterating, and very similar, in engineering, probably sometimes it's more the code that you delete than the new code that you write. So there is always, again, a component of that. So yeah, is an incredible important balancing act.
Yeah, for sure. So the last question is, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a founder just starting out?
I'd say is again, making sure that you focus on something that you deeply care about, like, and it's not necessarily about the your passion in the space, but more, do you see something that's going to fulfill you in the long run? Like, building these companies is an incredibly hard journey, it can be taxing to founders. Like, you really need to have the drive, you need to have the desire, but you need to get something that is really stimulating you for a good chunk of your life, really. So as long as you can identify something that you can commit to, and just you can just go for it. So but mm, people should not underestimate how hard this journey can be, so they really need to have the drive and desire to walk into building a company.
Well, thank you, Giovanni, for being with us. It was a lovely conversation, and I really enjoyed it.
Thanks very much
Yeah.
for taking the time as well, and massively enjoy the conversation, Ghalia.